Hello, everyone, and welcome to the post-show live chat, where we're going to be talking about everything that went down on this night's episode of The Bachelor, and everything that's been going on outside of The Bachelor too. It's been a wild week in Bachelor Nation. So before we get into the talk, before we chat about everything that's been going on, first, the chat rules. Number one, please no posting any spoilers. Any outright spoilers in the chat. Anything, of course, that's been sleuthed out, that's been, found out from the previews or from a person like Chris Harrison or an official source, totally allowed. Also, going to do my best to answer any and all questions. Of course, if you super chat, I'll get to that right away. And last but not least, be kind to each other. Please. Right now, be kind to each other. So yeah, I see ya right away with the super chat. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say about this episode. Yeah, brutal episode. Before we get into the episode, though, I want to talk about all the kind of drama that's been going on, the craziness, the Chris Harrison apology, Rachel apology that's been happening. If you don't know, if you aren't aware, essentially what's gone down over the last few weeks is this. So Rachel, who Final Four now, Rachel, we can say, had these sort of photos and things come out. Here's the one that set off just about everything. It's a photo of Rachel at an antebellum plantation themed fraternity formal in 2018. Completely unacceptable, and got people going, got people wanting her to address it, and Rachel had not been addressing it then. It was on Wednesday. I remember because I was working on the preview breakdown at around 7 in the morning, and I saw someone post about this interview with Chris Harrison and Rachel Lindsay on Extra, and it kind of it stopped my workday in its tracks. This interview where Chris Harrison just, Rachel brings up the Rachel Kirkconnell or Kirkconnell, plantation stuff, and Chris Harrison just completely condemns the woke police. Really rough stuff. After that, Chris Harrison issues an apology, long apology. You can see it on his Instagram page. And then, of course, Rachel came out with her apology. And after that, it was announced that Chris Harrison, he wasn't going to be coming for the After the Final Rose. He's not going to be hosting the After the Final Rose. After that, we don't know. And Wolverine, thank you so much for the super chat. I will absolutely be... I'm going to be getting to the show chat as well, real quick. But catching up everybody on all this stuff. And that's where things are at. So a lot has been going on outside of Bachelor Nation. A lot. We'll say one thing. We'll say is when it comes to Rachel and Chris Harrison's apology, not my apology to accept. Also, these are things that are like, an apology is a step. We'll see where the show goes from here. But there's just this thing that's sitting in me with this Bachelor Nation stuff, like Chris Harrison getting heat, Rachel's getting heat, but the show seems to be in the background, and the show is really, one of the things that's in control of everything here. Like, take a look at this graph here. This is from Bachelor data. Great page on Instagram. And all the credit for this data comes from them. So, go follow them. They post stuff like screen time percentages and Instagram followers. Here's the data. 2/3, almost 66% of the women on the season are women of color. Right? And there's the percentage of screen time. Who's gotten the most screen time this season? There's a graph. Women of color versus white women. There you go. From the first 6 episodes. Here. And there is screen time versus Instagram follower growth. So, high screen time, high growth, low screen time, high growth, high screen time, low growth. So, bit of a interesting statistic. And at the end of the day, who's in control of the screen time? Why is Abigail a person of color? They list her as person of color because she is half Korean. She is half Korean. So, we can. This is such an emotional debate, but you can't lie with statistics. And there are certain things. We talk a lot about the valuable screen time. I'll say Bree gets valuable screen time, but not a lot of screen time. And at the end of the day, who controls that screen time? Matt doesn't control the screen time. It's production, ABC. So, Rachel's given out an apology. And Chris Harrison's given out an apology, but come on. There's something disparaging here. So go follow Bachelor Data if any of this interests you, because they post stuff like this. They post. They'll post for this episode and for down the line. But yeah. So if you aren't aware, there is going to be a new host for the After the Final Rose, not for the Women Tell All. I think that's already been taped, but for the AFR, and we'll see. They say it's temporary. So, anyways. Oh, also, another really interesting thing, and I know there are 2 super chats. I still have them clocked, and I'm gonna get to them. I promise. But there's an interesting TikTok. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna share it here. An interesting TikTok from a contestant from Jake Pavelka's season. So you want to talk about what editing and production does. Take a listen to this.
Part 4. As everybody leaves the mansion, they have to do an exit interview. Now, whether or not it gets shown is totally up to the producers. I was asked, how do you feel? And I just kept saying, this is what's meant to be. I firmly believe whatever was supposed to happen happened. They did not like that. They kept prying. And finally they said, your dad had an affair and your best friend killed herself. So this is just one more thing that you can add to your list of disappointments. This face says it all. I cried. And I made a fool out of myself on night 1 because I turned out to be the girl that cries, thinking that she's going to marry someone that she met for 5 minutes on a national television show. So that's the story of how I left the Bachelor Mansion empty-handed.
So that was Kimberly Sullivan, who was on Jake Pavelka's season of The Bachelor. She was eliminated night 1, and she had this sort of edit of, someone who, we see it often on the show. They exit, they cry, and, it's kind of like, whoa, it's only been one day, one night with one bachelor, and you're crying. That's horrible. But if you get the crying shot and you put it in a certain context, you control that narrative. And not everything on the show is twisted in a completely crazy way all the time. But that goes to show you how things can be twisted and how much control editors actually have. Maybe a lot more than you think. And so when it comes to like who's getting screen time, editors have a lot more control than you think. So I don't know. That's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to talk about right off the bat. And we can get more. We can start talking about the show. Get more into that, or continue this conversation now. But I wanted to talk about that first, and I'll get to some of the super chats. So who did I miss here? Let me catch up. Here, I'm missing some. Some of this has not been updating. But I saw Asia's. I feel like Brie didn't get any screen time. Yeah, she hasn't got much screen time. But I have talked about in the past her getting screen time that was like little check-ins, and it's little, but it's important. So that is valuable screen time, but it's not a lot. It is not a lot. And to the you kind of like if you're just watching as a regular viewer, it might not mean a lot, but if you're sleuthing, it can mean a lot. And Wolverine 3030, Fantake, apply to be the new host. Chris Harrison is a bum. I will apply to be the new host. I'm announcing right now. I'm throwing my name in the hat. And as soon as I do that, on day 1, I promise to step down as the host and instead give it to a tape recorder that just says, "Ladies, this is the last rose of the night." And we can save ourselves a lot of time. A lot of time. But thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. And Katie, Fantake, would you consider doing a collab with Batch Data on a valuable time, social media growth, and race that's been very stark this season? Yeah. I think I don't know if it was this season or last season that Bachelor Data started. I gleamed onto this person's account more recently. I don't know how long they've been doing it. They've got quite a few. They've got like 40,000 or something Instagram followers. They've grown a ton. But I think what they do is really cool. Really, really cool. And let me know if I think the chat's kind of expired. There was one more super chat, and it's not showing up on my mini feed that I missed. It was something about Piper. I don't know why it's not showing up on my mini feed. I'll I'll promise to get to it, or I'll refund it. Bachelorette has started on Reddit, moved to Instagram. That's really cool. I think what they do is really, really, really cool, and it shows you stuff that it's undeniable. The amount of screen time people get, and the amount of screen time versus followers. So, and Amanda Lynn, thank you for the super chat. Matt kept saying he commended the way the women handled the Heather situation. There's no way he saw the way they actually handled it, right? Yeah, that whole Heather thing, another debacle from the season, just thrown to the wolves. Heather, like, I don't buy that Heather just showed up and they were like surprised and thought, okay, well, we'll put her right in here. If nothing else, if at its base value, the Heather thing at its very base was producers seeing her coming in and deciding this is cool. Like, oh, it's almost hometowns. Heather's arriving, and we have a season where a number of the women have been upset, where new gals are showing up. Let's add her to the mix. So, gross. I think it's after this week, it's kind of exhausting. A lot of this episode was exhausting, and it went by so fast, and there were so many things, like at the whole Abigail stuff. We've got super chats I'm going to get to, but I want to talk about Abigail too. That whole BS. Gabby, thank you for the super chat. Hi, fan take. Did you watch the interview Rachel L did on The Ringer about her interview with Chris Harrison? If you haven't, I encourage you all to watch. Absolutely, I have. I posted about it. I sent out a community blast on YouTube that included it, the Higher Learning podcast, where Rachel talks about her interview with Chris Harrison. I too encourage everyone to go watch it. Get her perspective on it. It's really, really, really worth watching. Talks about all the drama and I think there's one quote that I marked down from that podcast that was really interesting that Rachel said, and it was, and I'm going to paraphrase, but it was something along the lines of, Chris Harrison talks a lot about, we've had these, it's great having these conversations. We've had these conversations before. And she says, as someone who's had those conversations with Chris Harrison before and off camera, I'm not surprised by what Chris Harrison said. I'm just surprised he said it on camera. So, yep. And Milan Smart, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. And Wolverines 3030, it's all good, fan take. I'll repeat it. I asked if you felt bad for Piper because I don't. Good riddance. Kick rocks. Thank you. And I'm guessing you repeated that super chat. Like, please refund your previous one. Thank you. It really appreciate the super chat. Do I feel bad for Piper? Honestly, after this season, I don't like the edits. I don't think Piper's necessarily in we've talked about the Mean Girl group. Because one thing I read about online was, people were talking about how exhausting it was being on this season, because you're going into quarantine you're isolated, and you have nothing to do for the whole weeks that you're there. And, when new people start showing up, you too might get upset. But, there is a line. I don't know. I think I think there are, on the list of women to get mad about this season, Piper doesn't rank nearly as much as like Victoria and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of comparing her to like Victoria, and I'm like, it's not that bad. And Meredith, thank you for the super chat. Do you think the producers were behind Abigail not getting a one-on-one? Seems fishy to me. Here's another thing. Interesting question. Because one thing that I think about a lot from the, if you're not aware, a week or two ago, Dylan, Hannah G's guy, Dylan from Paradise, he was so upset about the Heather situation. He's friends with Heather, that he went on a tirade, revealing some like Bachelor Nation secrets and stuff like that about how things really go down. And that started a sort of string of events where like a number of people came clean about a few things, or there was more interest in things that go on behind the scenes. And I can't remember if it was him or it was Sean Lowe who mentioned something along the lines of the people who get the one-on-ones aren't always the decision of the lead. I don't know how true that is. I don't know if that was something that has happened before and has changed. So take it with a grain of salt. I can't verify this information entirely. But, if that's the case, then again, the theme of the night is like, why? Why would the producers not want that? But still, that being said, regardless of whether or not Abigail was, decided to go on a one-on-one or not by producers or by Matt, the thing that he said in this episode, which was kind of bullshit, he told Abigail, I felt so comfortable about our relationship that I wanted to explore other relationships because I felt so comfortable about us. Come on. I don't buy that. I don't buy that 1 second. I felt so comfortable about other relationships that I didn't want to give you a one-on-one because I was so comfortable about our relationships and I wanted to explore other relationships. And yet, here we are sitting here and you're going home. Yep. Like, come on. Theoretically, that logic works out like, I don't know, maybe the first 3 weeks or something, right? But if I'm sitting here, if I've connected with someone so intensely on night one, gave her the first impression rose, and, I'm thinking, okay, this is exciting. Abigail is exciting. I could understand the next day, the next week going, you know what, I don't want to give Abigail the one-on-one this week. I want to explore some other relationships. That's why I'm here. And then, you go on some group dates and you still like them. But eventually you're going to get to the point where you're like, you know what? Like, I'm still excited about this person. I want that one-on-one. I want to take this to the next level. No. Bullshit. And Wolverine again, thank you for the super chat. Keep my money. I love your content. What do you think about Demi's live tweets? Thank you for the super chat again. And for supporting the stream. I haven't seen Demi's live tweets. Okay, that's not true. I saw one today where she was saying, like, I don't want anything to do with anyone from the season that hurt Heather. And then Kayla responded from the season and said, as someone who's been on the show, you should know better than to trust everything you see on screen. That was interesting. And I think there is some truth on both sides of that. But other than that, I honestly haven't seen a Demi tweet in like forever. I do follow her, but I guess, I don't know, it hasn't shown up on my feed. But I saw that one. I saw that one today. And Tyler B, thank you so much. The older brother of Tyler C. Ed for host. You got it. You got it. You start the campaign, see where it goes. We got Ed's burner account here. We got a few of Ed burner accounts for some reason. From Tasha season, I can only imagine. Chicken leg. But and someone's saying, do I still have Michelle as my final pick? It's with everything that's been going on, all the Rachel stuff, it is hard to imagine that Rachel is going anywhere but at least final two, based on ABC's reaction to all of this controversy and how that's been pushed, based on the fact that Matt talked in the present tense, and I talked about this in my last preview breakdown about Rachel when talking about their relationship, based on Chris Harrison saying in that extra interview that Rachel does not appear at the Women Tell-All, meaning she's at minimum final three, like guaranteed. All the buzz that's happening makes me think that, yeah, Rachel might be the final pick. I think, I know almost certainly, or I have a heavy, there is a large amount of evidence to suggest that Serena P is the one who goes next at the hometown dates, based off of preview footage, which leaves Michelle, Bree, and Rachel. Bree, we know, has a fantasy suite date. Michelle, we know, has a date where they like douse each other in milk, which feels like, that's not a pre-hometown date, You're not going to show up to mom and dad's, date night smelling like milk. And of course Rachel has all this other stuff going for her. And there's the part of the previews where Rachel is intensely talking about, the relationship between a white woman and a black man. So I think the only certainty we have at this point, the only certainty, is that Rachel makes it to the final two. Well, that's not a certainty, but it is, I think, a heavily strong implication we can make. So, and people talk, who's gonna host the after the final rose? I mean, I won't. I'm not the first to say this, but obviously, Rachel Lindsay is a choice. She has done hosting stuff before, and it would be making a statement. Tasha, recent Bachelorette, she also has been doing hosting stuff with ET. So, but what does this mean for the future? Like will Chris Harrison be coming back for Bachelorette? As far as I'm concerned, there's only there are two very different indications by this. Having Chris Harrison absent from the after the final rose. One, it's a test to see how people react, and they're just gonna kind of have that reaction, hope it gets swept under the rug, and have him back for Bachelorette. Or two, it's a pre-firing, and they don't want to announce his absence from the show while he's still on this season. But I think it's more likely that they just kind of have this and then wait a little while and have him come back. I think that's par for the course. And I'm not Nicole. Thank you for the super chat. Goat feet lady and and fan take for host. That's it. That's the super chat. All right. It's happening. No, goat feet lady for host, and then what I really want to I want to be the bartender in Paradise. That's what I want. So that's what I'm campaigning for. How about Goat Feet Lady and Wells or something co-host, and then I can sneak in for the Paradise bartender. That seems more fun. And I feel like the Paradise bartender does more work than Chris Harrison. That am I wrong in saying that? You're making drinks. You're dealing with the first-hand drama of everyone in Paradise. You're dishing out advice. You probably have to work a legit 9 to 5 or whatever, 2 to midnight shift or something crazy. So that's what I want. I want to dish out the advice. The right or wrong advice, whatever it is. So that's my plan. But yeah, no, we just watched an episode where the format was so weird, and we were wrong about a few things, how exactly it went down in my preview breakdown. But the ultimate outcome, did not lie. The previews didn't lie about that, about who the final four were, and it was really unusual. This is not a typical pre-hometown episode by a long shot. I don't know. I guess it's not been a typical season, but man, was it weird. And it felt like that we bulldozed through a lot of eliminations. We started this episode with Heather arriving and ended at hometowns. So, man, they pushed through a lot. But Olivia, thank you for the super chat. Who will be the next Bachelorette? Great question. So last week, I was spoiled on Twitter. Apparently, there was an announcement, like a spoiler announcement, and it was all over Twitter. I was spoiled, so I'm not going to say anything. But maybe that things might be different in that regard. If I were the Bachelor people, if I was a producer on this show who had influence in that room, I would be advocating for Abigail. Because I'll be honest, I don't think they're going to make anyone from this top 4 the Bachelorette. I just don't have faith, even if, some of the women from this top 4 deserve it. I just don't have faith that they're going to do it. Just based on track record alone. I think a great choice would be Abigail. She has a lot going for her. I think she's genuine. And it would be the first person with any sort of, as far as I'm aware, a disability being the lead. I think we could make a lot of ground. I think it would be that's who I'd be fighting for in the room, based off of the idea that I don't think they're going to make anyone from the top 4. That's who I'd be fighting for. We'll see if things change because of all the drama and all of the just debacle that's been going on. We'll see if that changes the conversation, but that's someone who, if I were in that room and I had to concede to certain voices, but like we could see absolutely at the end of this season, women like Bree or Michelle or Serena, just like having a send off that deserves consideration for the Bachelorette. But I don't know. Like, am I wrong in saying that I don't think they're going to make any of those women Bachelorette? I don't know. So I think Abigail would be a great consideration. And Lovesla72, thank you for the super chat. As a person of color, now knowing how Chris Harrison really thinks, I'm having a really hard time seeing him on my TV. I'm disappointed. You are not the only one. You are not the only one. And I think it's absolutely the right decision not to have him. Like, having him on this AFR after all of that, after that interview, and after everything, leading conversations on racism is not the right look. And having him not be there is absolutely the right decision. Of course, he's apologized. Not my apology to accept. But an apology is just the first step on a long walk of showing that he is genuine about that apology. It's something that's going to take a lot. It's not just a one issued apology done. So we'll see where things go from here. But I think you are absolutely not the only one who's disappointed or upset. So but oh yeah, and someone mentioning Bree quitting her job to be on the show, to be on this season of the show. Bree quitting her job. To all the young women out there, or women of any age, or people of any age, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And follow Bree on Instagram. Make it worth it for her. And Melissa Sherman, thank you for the super chat. What's the best way to start a campaign for Rachel L for executive producer? I think she could also bring the show back to being about love, not drama. First of all, follow Rachel on Instagram. She is one of the few from recent years, one of the few leads from recent years who has not reached 1 million followers on Instagram. One of the few. So, but we also like make your voice known, because it's something like, I know there were a lot of people that were boycotting tonight's episode, and it's a strange thing because you want to show that you want the show to know that when they do something like have an apology or show accountability, like that people respond well. You don't want viewership to go down so they can say, well, look, this is not what the people want. Views went down. But when we talk about it, the show listens. The show does listen, even if sometimes it doesn't feel like it. So that's one thing. Follow Rachel is another thing. Show the show that, contestants of color do receive the interest of the public. It might seem small, but it's big. And A. Hayden, thank you for the super chat. Do you think that the Bachelor franchise could make the accommodations necessary for Abigail as lead? I feel like they do her dirty. Yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. Like, would it actually be good for her to be the lead? Would they just throw her under the bus, under the drama and everything? And I think we've seen in Tayshia's season that it can be possible. Like, Tayshia's season, I was actually having this conversation earlier today and thinking about this. Like, Tayshia's season seems so good and romance focused and drama free, and I was wondering, like, was it because of the pandemic and they had to rush into this season and they didn't have time for all the antics and the drama? Like, is that why we ended up with a season where, even though there was producer-driven stuff, like Ben returning and Bennett returning and, these fake, Ed showing up, speaking of Ed, showing up at Chris Harrison's door at, 2 a.m. or something like that, is it because they didn't have time to put together all this, diabolical, maniacal planning of drama and manipulation? I don't know, but it makes me believe that it's possible to have someone in the lead position and have them not be completely screwed over. I think it's possible, and we're having these conversations. I'm having this conversation because I want that to happen. I don't want the show to always be this just pure drama fest that kind of feels bad, feels like bullying sometimes, which, some of it is on the cast of this season, absolutely, but not all of it. So it is possible, and that's what I want. yeah, I do want the drama too. I want drama. I want stupid drama. I want craziness, but I don't want it to make me feel bad. Or make me feel so bad like all the time. And I want it to be stuff that supplements an actual love story. And yeah, some of it's all BS. Like most everyone on the show ends up broken up. It's just like the statistical truth. But when you do have a couple, a married couple, a couple that creates a family, a Trista, Tasha, and Zach, couples that actually make it, that's the stuff that we watch this show for. So I think it's possible, and that's why I'm having this conversation. I'm hoping that we can make some shifts, and this shift doesn't mean we lose the fun, drama, or even the cattiness of the show. Or the, chest pounding Neanderthals, bro v bro, brochacho-ness. So, I think it's possible. And Hope Edwards, thank you for giving a platform to talk about this. I thank you for the super chat. But this is just one conversation that so many people have been having before me. Like on that Rachel Lindsay podcast, or Two Black Girls One Rose have been talking about this stuff, or the Black Bachelorette. Oh gosh, I'm bungling up the pronunciation on Instagram. So, and contestants in the past, Taylor, for example, just to name a few. But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Let me see if I've missed any here, and try not to miss any, because for some reason my mini feed, which tells me all the super chats, is not working, so I'm having to scroll through tonight. But there's Jordan. Thank you for the super chat. What would you do if you were forced to skydive for a date and they crashed you into the ground? Also, do you think that was Rachel that crashed? It wouldn't happen to me because I would not skydive. I would not skydive at all. I am not a fan of heights. I would not be skydiving. I would say, put me in the back of that limo. So, bye-bye. I talk, like, one of my other favorite shows is The Amazing Race. And if I ever went on The Amazing Race, I would need a partner who was willing to do the heights things. It is not my jam at all. I'm so happy to do the underwater stuff, go into like the caves and do the like claustrophobic stuff. I'm fine with that. The height stuff, just no thank you. So I would not be on that date. And I would not be pleased if they forced me on that date and and I crashed. So, yeah, would not be a good look. It would not be a good date afterwards with the lead. Nope. And Gabby, thank you again for the super chat. Seeing Michelle at the end of the episode made me laugh. Then it made me sad. I had no clue she was that fun/goofy. I know nothing about anyone. Yeah. Yeah, because so much of this season has been focused on screen time of drama, and you look at the final four, and there's not been a crazy amount of time with all of them. So I'm not surprised. We got a sudden introduction to Michelle. Then she got some, screen time thrown in because she was the one from the group of new women who really took on the she might actually be a romance option, and then it was onto new stuff. So I feel like a lot of people are saying that some of these women, especially in the final four here, they feel like they don't know them. So, and Rita, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the big super chat. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thanks for the videos. What's your thought on Michelle? Started off so strong, but I'm worried she's faded to Rachel. I just love Michelle. Yeah, I would still, if I had to call a final two, I would say Michelle and Rachel. Of the two, I think all this crap going on, this complete fumbling of social media stuff with Rachel and the interview with Chris Harrison and the way they've reacted to this Rachel stuff, like ABC and production, makes me think that like Rachel could be a final pick and that they're trying to protect themselves. But I could also see that being the case even if Rachel is a final two as well. So I can't say with certainty. But Michelle absolutely deserves more screen time. After her that one-on-one that she had. But there has to be now. They're forced to there's got to be more screen time for her and for Brie coming up, right? Because there's only 4 women left. There has to be. So there's got to be some more coming up. And Kaleidosaurus, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. I don't know. I don't have a question, but haven't super chat for a while. Thanks for the combo tonight and keeping a focus on these issues. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. If you're wondering if you're wondering what's going on, if you're wondering what to do, first and foremost, just Google it. Google the stuff that's going on. Watch Chris Harrison's interview and watch people's reactions to it, because people have been really, really hurt by this stuff. And if you're wondering, well, why have people been hurt? Listen to them. Listen to them. Listen to their experience, and put yourself in their shoes. And maybe it'll become a little bit clearer. And then go, where do we go from here? Well, I don't know. I'm not the, voice of, leading this conversation. But start by following those people on Instagram, following those people on Twitter. And, make your voice be known too, because that way ABC knows what's up. And the Bachelor people know what's up. And they do listen. We wouldn't be having this season if they didn't listen. So that's a step. And this is all just taking steps. So, and Anna, thank you so much for the super chat. Matt seems less genuine the more and more this season goes on, and in interviews, I wonder if he didn't want Abigail or even give her a chance because she said her kids may be deaf too. By the way, you're awesome. Yeah, I do agree with one thing, that I don't think he was as into Abigail as he said he was. I don't know. I'm not going to comment or state that it was because of the kids thing too. I don't think that's the case. I think he, from the beginning, wasn't as into her, maybe as he thought, or as we thought. But definitely Matt's been getting a back seat to this. I don't know if it's because it is unsure of how to be the lead, or if there is more and we just haven't been getting screen time given to him, or if he's just been, bulldozed by the cast. But definitely, I would see, if you were to just believe how this season has played out, yeah, I would agree. He seems kind of backseat to the season. And with all this stuff going on too, he might not know how to respond to interviews. I don't know, but definitely he seems to not be in the forefront of his own season. And Rochelle, thank you for the super chat. Bachelor in Quarantine on Instagram has collected all of the info and responses from all of Bachelor Nation. Well, there you go. I tried on my post. I gave out a blast. I think it was on Friday, a subscriber blast addressing this issue. And I tried to tag down or write down the names of all the people of color, women of color, or people who identify, as far as I know, as a person of color from the season on their Instagram. But I don't know if I might have missed. It's hard. And some people have Twitter accounts and don't have Instagram, or they're starting them up. But thank you for that. That's useful. Go check that out. Most, as far as I know, most members of Bachelor Nation, people that from past seasons, leads, have made comments. Not all, but have made comments in support of the women of the season who have spoken out, and of Rachel. The women of this season made a joint statement together in response to the in support of Rachel Lindsay. I'll say it's confusing because there's two Rachels at the center of some of the stuff, but there are a few who haven't. So it's a good resource. So we'll it'll be really interesting how they handle the women tell-all coming up, which is, I guess, already been taped. It was been taped before, because Chris Harrison was talking about it before the on the extra interview. That's already been taped, and the after the final rose. And Olivia, thank you for the super chat. How do you think the season ends on a positive? There's been major bullying, microaggressions, and not much love. Not going to end well. It's hard to it's hard to imagine how they leave off with, there's all this drama that's been going on the show, the bullying and the treatment of certain people on the show. Then there's the Chris Harrison stuff, the Rachel Kirkconnell, or I've heard multiple variations of how to pronounce her last name, but the Rachel Kirkconnell stuff, they're gonna have to really pull something strong for that after the final rose. And then there's Matt and who he's with at the end, and if it's Rachel, what does that universe look like? Are they together? Are they broken up because of all this? Are they broken up before all this? So it'll be really interesting to see. We are going to come now to the end of our live stream. It's been it's been quite the week in Bachelor Nation. and you know, we'll have to talk about this, you know, in the recap tomorrow a little bit. But we will be, you know, recapping this episode tomorrow on the channel, and of course talking about the preview breakdown after that. There is, I think, enough evidence already to suggest that we know who's going home next of the final four. After that, at this point, you know, I'll review the footage, but at this point it is getting a little bit foggy as to how the final three plays out, but I think we have ample enough evidence to suggest that someone, Serena P, is going home next episode, simply just based off of preview footage. And Latrice, thank you for the super chat. The franchise didn't protect Rachel Lindsay during her season when they cast Lee. They have to do better. I agree. That, you know, and there was a whole, then they had their like conversation about it at the end, and it was like, you know, great that we talked about that. Moving on, and it's been forgotten. You know, when someone apologizes for something, it's a commitment. It has to be a commitment to continuing to work better. And we need to make sure that the franchise remains committed to those steps. And Holly H, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for the super chat. So we are going to end we're going to end the live stream here. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, for chatting about the show, for chatting about all this stuff that is just, you know, completely upended Bachelor Nation. But should we be surprised? I don't know. No. So, thank you all for joining me. Wherever you are in your world, take some time for yourself. For me, this show has often been a cup refiller, and by that I mean something that when crap's going on in the world, it helps me refill my cup. And when stuff like this gets pulled into that zone in our lives, it's important that we take a little moment, a little self-care time for ourselves. So be sure to do that. Take care of yourselves. Have a great night, everyone. Till tomorrow. Until next time, Bachelor Fan Take.